Hello, Karishma. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well, still very well.
Fantastic. So, welcome first of all to the Hour Markers.
Thank you.
How's everything? I hope everything's fine back where you are. You're safe and healthy.
Safe, healthy, and very happy, you know, and in those days, it's important to smile and be happy, I think.
Absolutely. So first of all, congratulations. Lots to talk about at Zenith for 2021. But before we get into the novelties and the launches, I want to talk a little bit about you. You have a background of marketing for 17 years. You've been in sales as well at Vacheron, and then 2017, the CEO at Zenith. So you've kind of seen it all. In your opinion, is digitalization a blessing or a curse, particularly considering the global situation we are in?
So I would say, for me, it's a blessing. It's a blessing because it's part of today's world. And you know, as much as I'm fighting with my kids because they spend too much time on screens are going to have such an important part in their world compared to mine when I was born, that we should not look backward, we should look forward. And I think today there is no way we want to keep watch industry contemporary and modern. We cannot avoid digitalization. I think it's a blessing, but you have to do it the right way. You should never forget that you and me today, with all those screens and cameras between us, you know, it would be 10 times better if we could sit together and I could let you show the watches. So it's a great tool, but let's not abuse of it, and let's keep human to human relationship the first choice.
Absolutely. So coming from digitalization, I want to talk to you about e-commerce. Zenith is open to the concept of selling watches online. Have you seen any particular switch in the e-com buying pattern last year particularly?
Yes, for sure. You know, I made a call on March 15 to close the manufacturer. We had no choice. We had to do it. So we did close it. And then immediately after that, I asked all my teams, how can you digitalize your job the best? Because we're going to be stuck home for a while. And of course, sales marketing seems easier to a certain extent than telling this to a finance guy or to a polisher, for sure. But I would say my sales team did a great job because we were supposed to implement e-commerce over 18 months. And I asked them to do it over 3 weeks. And at the mid-June, we were able to launch e-commerce in Europe and July in the US. And step by step, we are covering more and more markets. So it's been a great, I would say, acceleration of the e-commerce. And of course, a great surprise with the results, because many people in Switzerland and in the watch industry, they believe that nobody would ever buy expensive watches online. You need to see people, you need to touch the watches, etc. At the end of the day, I have to admit that we've done great business in e-commerce. To share a number with you, we reached 5% of our yearly turnover with 5 months of activity, only Europe and America. So definitely it's in the air. And again, if you are an active and dynamic brand, you have to step into it.
Well, that's good to hear. From e-com, the next thing that's really taken off, in my opinion, was pre-owned watches, which is also something that you do have give people access to. What are your thoughts on pre-owned watches, and how do you see that evolving as a market in itself?
Thank you for asking. It's my favorite subject. No, because you know, I'm passionate about history, and I'm passionate about how history can inspire people from today to be more creative, not to repeat the past. This is something I always loved. And when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the El Primero, we basically realized more and more the strong interest of Zenith fans for vintage pieces from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s, like the ones you see on this plate here. And those watches raised a lot of interest. We could see the value in the auction business at Zenith going up and up and up over the few years, which means brand equity. Because when the value of old watches come back strongly, it means the brand new watches you're buying now are also going to follow the trend. And it's very important to do that. So that's why we launched not only the Revival collection that we know of, but also the Zenith Icons program. Because I realized that many people are buying vintage watches, but they don't always know what they're buying. They're not always sure about the condition of the watch, how the maintenance has been done. So I think we will offer a unique service to our clients by basically selling watches that we bought back, that we totally restored, thanks to 2 master watchmakers that we have in our company, and that will basically make sure the watch is in perfect condition. The watch will be authenticated, certified, with a booklet explaining everything around, and sold exclusively in our boutiques. So this is a great experience, and it's also a way to communicate to people that when you buy a watch, when you buy a Zenith watch, you buy something that is working today, but if you take care of it, if you have a watchmaker with you, maybe to put a little bit of oil, in 400 years, in 1,000 years, the watch will still work. How many objects, look around you, how many objects you have around you in your room that you think will still be here in 400 years? Not many. So at the period when we talk about sustainability, we talk about circular economy, it's actually a very actual subject. It's very much in the air. And I believe it's important for us, we have 156 years, to show the transmission aspect of the watch and the fact that the watch will live forever. So that's why I love this program.
Yeah, I don't know whether my watch certifies for the Zenith Icons program. It's the 1990 El Primero Rainbow.
Nice.
So I don't know
yes, of course.
Yeah. Maybe
Look, I have one here. I have one here in steel.
Yeah, and I love it. I actually stole it from my father, and it's one of my favorite watches.
I'm happy. It's beautiful. It goes very well on you.
Thank you. So let's talk about all the launches of this year. Of course, the one watch that has created a global stir is the Chronomaster Spot, which we'll get to eventually. But I want to start off with the one that grabbed my attention, which is that smoky brown gradient Revival A385. What a beautiful piece. Why did you
I knew you would say that.
Why did you choose to revive this particular watch?
Because the shape of it is actually, we put it back on the market in August 2019 with the A384, and it had never ever been relaunched on the market in its original size. It was in 42 millimeters 10, 12 years ago, but it wasn't really, you kind of lost the proportions, the balance of this design. So now we said we launch it in this time, and then we found out about the A385, which has this smoky kind of dial, but which is actually a gradient dial, because it's darker on the side, lighter in the front, in the center, sorry. And this gradient dial is the very first gradient dial of the watch industry. So when I found out about that, we did some research. We couldn't find any gradient dial older than that particular watch. So I said, let's put it back in the market with a Revival edition, because it's something so nice, and the story and the rendering, and we were very enthusiastic about that watch. And the clients are as well, because it's been on fire since we launched it a few weeks ago. You have it on strap, basically on a leather strap, as well as on a bracelet.
Also, I noticed that the strap, I mean, I haven't really seen the bracelet, but it's the ladder bracelet. It seems a bit fragile. Is it fragile because you've stuck to the originals?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, we've been testing it the right way. You know, the ladder bracelet comes from also the 60s. It was a company called Gay Frères, which frères meaning brothers. And it's a bracelet that's very iconic and very much linked to Zenith. A few years after we used it, the company was actually bought by Rolex. So it became part of the Rolex group. But it's been a great independent bracelet maker during those years. And now, of course, we relaunched it because, and this is not my idea or my team idea, it's when we launched the A384, many collectors, many clients ask us to relaunch the bracelet. So that's why we did it. You see, sometimes we listen also to our clients.
Yes, that's important. So going back to the 60s, so obviously the El Primero was the world's first highest frequency chronograph. What was the frequency at that time?
It was at that time the frequency was also 5 hertz. You know, we have been, since the very beginning of the launch, we have been known for 36,000 vibrations per hour, which, if you think about it, makes total sense. Even more when you show the 1/10 of a second, because if your heartbeat is 28,800, like most chronographs, 4 hertz, it means you're gonna show and display, if you want to display, the 1/8 of a second. Nobody's measuring anything in 1/8. We're measuring 1/10. So it was very important for us to come back with the 1/10 of a second within this this watch. Yeah.
Okay. Julien,
very logical.
Yes. Also, since we're talking about high frequency, could you enlighten our viewers about what the positive attributes of a high frequency movement are and how it correlates to the precision of timekeeping?
Of course, I mean, it's quite intuitive in a way, but the higher the frequency, the more precise the watch is going to be. And that's why with the 100th of a second chronograph that we have in DeFi, it's clearly the most precise chronograph in the world. There is no discussion, because the more you oscillate fast, the less you create space between each oscillation for a change of rhythm. You know, if I have to beat a rhythm like this, I might do a little bit longer or shorter at some point. If I go very fast, I cannot do it because it's smaller. The margin of error is very, very small. That's how the faster you beat, the more precise you are. That's physical. Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the watch that's created such a stir everywhere, the Chronomaster Spot. 2 steel on steel, white face, black face, beautiful watches. Talk us through it. It's created quite a stir for many reasons actually, but let's hear it from you.
You know, I've been smiling for the last 6 days because when we released it on Thursday night, we never had in the history of Zenith such a fantastic reaction from everyone. And I think it's also the consequence of the hard work that the whole team has done for the last 3 years to prepare this. Because when I came in 2017, DeFi was born, and DeFi was about the present and the future of Swiss watchmaking, showing very contemporary watchmaking. But of course, I never wanted to forget the past. So what I said is, let's work on what Chronomaster should be all about. In the past, Chronomaster had been sometimes in too many directions, and I needed to recalibrate the Chronomaster collection. So we came back in 2019 with the anniversary of the El Primero, where we started to show some revival, and it was the beginning of the revival collection. Then now we are presenting the sporty contemporary side of Chronomaster with the Chronomaster Sport. And in a couple of months, you will see the third subcategory of Chronomaster with, I would say, a very elegant, classy, thin watch coming from this Chronomaster family. But Chronomaster Sport, how we could do it? We knew that we had done such pieces, and you are wearing one of them. So we went into the history, and we took, for example, this watch, which is an unbelievably beautiful watch. It's a watch that was born in 1965, before the El Primero was born. So it doesn't have an El Primero movement, but you already see the identity with the bezel, with the 3 counters, of course. It had this beautiful Gay Frère bracelet, and this one is in very good condition. And then a few years after, we launched this one, which is probably the closest in terms of design to the Chronomaster Sport. It's called the De Luca. It was named after a famous Italian retailer in those years. And if you look at the current one and this one, you will see immediately the similarities with the bracelet, of course, with the black bezel, with the buckle.
Right.
And of course, with the 3 counters that we added in colors this time for the Zenith signature with the 3 color counters. So we worked with those watches and we said, okay, let's come back in that segment. That's how we came with this beautiful Chronomaster Spot, which is available in 2 dials, steel bracelet or straps. And of course, we wanted to add a technical feature. That's why we brought the 1/10 of a second that you can see here when I press the button on the black one.
Yeah.
And very also intuitive to read.
Yeah, it's very legible. Very legible.
Super legible. You have the small seconds in the light gray at 9. You have the minutes at 6 o'clock. And then you have the seconds on the blue. And of course, the 1/10 of a second with the central hand. So super easy to read.
Beautiful.
Yeah, honestly, I think we made a fantastic watch that will be appreciated by people like you, because I know what you're wearing. So I know you know so much about watches and heritage. And you immediately see the connection with our historical models. But let's say someone coming in a store, not knowing much about the watch industry and maybe not knowing much about Zenith heritage, he or she could be super excited just to buy the watch because it's such a contemporary, casual. You can wear it in any circumstances, and it has a great look, great vibe. So people love it. So I think we're going to do fantastic with this. And by the way, both for men and women, because it's a very wearable watch for both genders.
Yes, I mean, I kind of agree with that. Particularly in our market, I feel like Zenith is a very underrated brand. And that is something I keep telling people time and again. It's one of the brands that you can really, really get credibility. It has a lot of credibility and immense quality and so much history. But yeah, I guess it needs a little work in the Indian market. But that being said, I have a couple of Zeniths and I love them.
Thank you, because if you have a couple, I don't know how you got them, but that one you mentioned from your father, thank you, because you are a great ambassador for us in India. That's good.
Thank you, Julien. My last question to you is, what is your outlook for luxury products in general, considering the current market situation, which seems to be getting better, but what is your outlook in general for luxury products?
You mean for 2021? Huh?
Exactly.
You know, I'm personally quite an optimistic person, but I try to be very realistic also. And of course, 2020 was a very tough year, but now I believe we are moving towards to anyway a better situation. Why am I saying that? Because if you think about a year ago, and I don't remember exactly when the pandemic hit India, but in Europe it started more or less in March. And we were not prepared. We were all taken by surprise. Now, whatever happens, we learned how to behave. We learned to wash our hands 20 times per day, to wear a mask, and to adapt to this crazy situation. And of course, the vaccination is also increasing fast for all the people at risk. So I believe if you combine all that, it's still going to take some time, but we should go to a better situation. And because of us, we finished the year in very good results, because January is being a very great month. It should be a much better year in 2021. And I have to be ambitious and optimistic. Of course, what we need, like everyone, is to have the wind blowing in your back instead of blowing in your face. And that will help everyone. But I believe we go to the best place now. The worst is behind us.
Okay, great. We should end on that note, but I want to know, if you had to pick one watch from this year's collection, what's your personal favorite? I mean, you clearly know mine, so what's yours?
Yeah. So we will not fight, because I will leave you this one that I love too. But I would take this one, maybe because I've been wearing it for the last 10 days, and it's beyond the specificities of it, beyond the history of it, beyond all these aspects. It's a super comfortable watch to wear. And you know, I always insist with my team about ergonomy and comfort. When you buy a watch like that, sometimes you love the look of the watch and you take it in your hands and already something is wrong. Then you put it on the wrist, same feeling. Then you're never gonna buy it usually. 99% you're not gonna buy it. So this watch, we worked a lot on every single detail to make it super comfortable to wear. And the same when you buy a car, if you enter and you sit in the back seat or in the front seat, sorry, and you don't feel well when you seated, you're never gonna buy it, never. So it's the same kind of feeling, and we worked on every single details for this. So I'm quite addicted to this watch already.
Well, I have to be honest, I was not very, very happy with it, but then I kept seeing it on people's wrists. And I always believe that once you put it on your wrist, only then you realize how good a watch is. And I've been seeing so many posts now. Unfortunately, we can't see the watch, but I've been seeing so many posts of watch on people's wrists. And I have to say, it completely changes the entire look and feel. And I'm actually quite interested to see it in person. Good.
No, you have to. At some point, we have to organize it because it's a different feeling. Honestly, it's a different feeling.
Thank you so much, Julien. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.